Yo, what's up, legend? Welcome to today's video. And this is a very special one as I'm walking here, not to get hit by cars. But this is a very special one because this is an interview with Charlie. And Charlie is a high-level entrepreneur, also around the same age as me. And he is my first ever client. He is the guy who I kicked my online journey off with, which is of course always a special moment. So Charlie came to me with lower back pains, some restrictions around the hip region. And yeah, basically what we did is we crafted a program specifically tailored for him and his needs, steering away from the conventional strength related elements or protocols that you might see in the fitness industry, but focusing more on mobility elements, functional strength, and targeting specific restrictions that cause the issues. So without further ado, I hope you like today's video, and we'll check you very soon. So what's up, Charlie? My man, a guy who I worked with in the past, and I had some great experiences with. And yeah, I'm very happy that you wanted to hop on this call with me today. And yeah, I'm very excited to really dive into your journey because it's all about you and what you have experienced in the time that we work together. So just as a small kickoff. I always like to ask for people who are potentially watching, like, who is Charlie in this case? And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your background in fitness, in movement in general?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I've the standard thing of being to the gym, used to lift loads of weights. I did some always wanted to look big when I was younger, then realized that I just wanted to get strong. So did a bit of powerlifting for a while. Stopped that a couple of years ago, mainly because I had so much back pain, and I was just constantly like my back, my chest, everything was just painful, basically. So then I started running, did a bit of that. Nothing really sort of scratched that itch. It was all it felt like I was trying to chase some sort of result that I didn't really know what I wanted. And all the time just in this kind of constantly feeling pain in different parts of my body. And, I also sit at my desk a lot every day. I work from home, I write on the internet. So for me, sitting in a chair all day, like it does, all sorts of stuff to you. So sitting down a lot, not really doing much good movement, and then going and lifting loads of heavy weights isn't the best for you. So that was kind of a rundown, and that's largely why obviously I originally reached out to you to work together.
Yeah, nice. I see a pattern in some of the people that I help with. Yeah, I've been doing
Sure.
some strength training, also combined with a lot of sitting work as well. Yeah, and you also mentioned then we got in touch together. Can you explain a little bit on how we got to meet and how that sort of journey started between the both of us?
Yeah, I think you randomly messaged me on Twitter one day, and then
Yeah,
we got chatting, and then we had a call, and we were just chatting again for a bit. And then I believe I was your first ever paid client.
that's very true, man. You're my
Mm,
first, and
I
I kept
was
that a secret
proud to
before
be
it started.
first.
Yeah. So I kept that a secret before. I hope that you wanted
First of
to show it
many.
to Unravel, but yeah, you were the first person who became my client when I started as a solo entrepreneur. And
You know?
yeah, so sorry to interrupt, but yeah, it was a beautiful moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I just became friends, and I saw how much you knew your stuff. And I think it was a perfect time of I was having problems with my back. You knew how to fix it. I trusted you because we got on and we're friends anyway. So just made a lot of sense. And yeah, that's how it started. No regrets at all.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Very glad to hear. And yeah, for me likewise. And you already explained a little bit about some issues that you were dealing with once we started. How, like you mentioned, you did powerlifting. What do you feel were the circumstances, not only as a person who was sitting a lot, that really caused you to feel those experiences across the body? Can you elaborate a little bit more on how that came about before we started working together?
Yeah, I think I was just, I was lifting a lot of heavy weights, and and at one point I was very strong. And I think the thing is, I didn't do any, at least in my opinion, I didn't do much supportive work. So whilst I was very strong in things like squats, deadlifts, bench press, I could deadlift like 190 kilos. Like that's great and all, but if it's like strength in just one movement, then I feel like it lacks a lot of value compared to being strong in in a real range. And I think that's where I had the problem is I had a lot of weaknesses in other parts of my body, which meant that I was getting pulled out of shape in here. My abs were very weak, like my actual core wasn't that strong. So my lower back was pulled out. My hamstrings were really, really tight. So my quads, my glutes were quite weak. Like the whole kind of package, although it worked together from a purely like a powerlifting perspective, if I look from a purely like moving and just a being a normal human perspective, it was really out of whack. I think that's probably the most like the biggest reason really. I've always had very tight muscles. I never really stretched as a kid. I played a lot of sport when I was younger. I never really put the time into like mobility and trying to stay mobile. And then did like the classic thing of getting into the gym and just doing what people on YouTube said, and getting decent sized muscle, getting strong, whatever, but not actually really understanding what goes on behind the scenes and actually what's really important. And I'm 30 now. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in pain, so I think it's really important for me to do something about it whilst I still was able to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that really common thread, I think, in a lot of the journeys. I myself, I think I also followed a similar journey, so I really recognize where you came from back in the day. And also especially the sensations that you felt concerning certain body parts. And I also really feel that with, especially if you look at in this case lower back pain or pain issues in general, it's often that the closer or the more closer towards the restricted area the pains are emerging. If you investigate those areas as well, you might feel a lot of results if you just hammer in on those. So for example, rotational capacity of the spine, or indeed working on the posterior chain, glutes, hamstrings, but also the core muscles. So yeah, I really felt like when you stepped in and you came with the certain issues that you were experiencing, that we really could get you great results. And we'll dive into that in a second. Did you also feel, because that's also something I'm very interested in hindsight, is you were accustomed to powerlifting, you were accustomed to more this typical strength work. Did you also felt like that you need to step out of a certain comfort zone to get more into the realm of mobility? How was that for you in the starting phases of the program that you and I had?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, I'm always open to trying something if it can help. And I think it's really common, isn't it? Sort of common knowledge in fitness that if you want to, see accelerated results, you have to change the stimuli and do something a little bit different. So, I was excited and excited to try something new and see where it would go, and also how it would impact my performance in other areas, which I think is the one of the things as well that's been super interesting. So yeah, it was definitely, I guess, out of comfort zone, but not so much that it was like really alien. Like I had a general idea of what you were asking me to do, and I could see how it would fit in the bigger picture, which helped. So, but obviously there's an element of faith there where you just kind of have to trust that it will work. And well, obviously worked. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, and yeah, I think besides of the sort of, okay, this is going to be the physical journey that we embark on. These are the steps, et cetera, which we'll touch upon in a second. I think you really nailed it home in the key word that you mentioned. It's trust, and
Mm.
I think you and I really like on also on business level, we really got along very quickly, even before we got started. And I think this is something I, at least for myself, I think is really valuable, is that you have a trust with somebody, because you're also placing your trust in somebody to give you instructions, give you materials to work on, and also improve the thing that you do. But also I think if you trust somebody, the likelihood of you taking in all of the information, doing it, molding it to your own, and then getting results from it is just immensely higher. So I felt like this between you and I, that was really apparent.
Yeah.
And then into the journey, because you already had you touched upon it briefly, like how can you talk a little bit about the journey that we had in the steps, but also just from your perspective, the physical journey that you had within the program?
Yeah. So from memory, I think we started with trying to what did we start with? We started with a real mix of things. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
general kind
Yeah.
of strengthening and building mobility in all parts of my body. I think, just working from memory here. I think I had problems with my posture, so we
Yeah.
did sorted out my open up my chest, strengthen up my back. We then did some stuff with the legs from
Yeah,
memory. We
yeah,
did
yeah,
some
yeah,
of
yeah,
those.
yeah,
Yeah, we
definitely.
did all sorts of stuff. I think we started with the all round mobility, which I think got me to a good like starting point, I guess, to be able to
Yeah.
look at individual areas. And then from there, from memory, we went to like hip work, which was like the big thing for me, obviously with the back pain. And that's something I think that came on, like the back pain got worse as we were working together, not because of stuff what we were doing, but because everything else kind of fell in line. So it was highlighted that like there was an issue there that I needed to fix because everything else was kind of getting better. So then we did more hip mobility work,
Yeah.
sorted out my lower back, strengthened up my my hip mobility, my hip flexors, my glutes, etc. Did a lot of work on that, which made a massive difference.
Mm.
And then we moved again on to a bit more of an all rounder, doing a bit more sort of all round stuff. So and also I think we did some performance related stuff after, didn't we? We were looking at some
Yeah.
trying to improve like my running and sort of stuff in the gym and looking at like specific movements to strengthen up like ankles, like particular joints, just generally get more from the exercise I was doing. So yeah, it was a real journey. We started over
Yeah.
here and kind of worked our way the whole way to the other side and
Yeah.
fixed a
Yeah.
lot in the process. So
Yeah, it was really interesting in also because you were my first client to see, okay, how we're gonna make sure that you hit home on your goals. And indeed, it was more of a total body scan, making sure that we, yeah, just addressed some specific areas, but also worked more in compound mobility exercises, if I can say so. So maybe a Cossack squat, which exposed a bit of ankle restrictions, but then also showed us what kind of things we could work on hip external rotation, etc., etc. So that was really, I think, a nice starting point. And then along the way, zooming in, zooming out. Even got to the point working on some improving your running, which mostly came from you, but I was just there to help with maybe some restrictions that you felt during running that we can improve on from a joint
yeah,
perspective. And additionally, also we did a little bit of elastic work with working with some fascia and tendon structures with some jumping and plyometrics, because I think that's also a very underutilized property of the body. So yeah, it
absolutely.
was really a beautiful, I think, a beautiful journey, because we had so much. We worked for around a year, maybe a bit longer together, and we could really zoom in and out of different areas that you wanted to focus on. I think at one point, and I hope you still do. You mentioned like I want to have these. I want to work towards being a hybrid athlete. Where maybe can you maybe share some 7 things that you would do if you would, if you would be me as a hyper entrepreneur, performer entrepreneur, which you are, which I could embark on. And I think that's also something if eventually that we did a bit of as well, which you hopefully still
100%.
do.
Yeah.
Um, what I always also am interested in, and especially because you said you weren't really feeling alienated from mobility work, but it maybe was still new. Was there a aha moment for you that you felt like this is what the power of mobility is?
Do you know what it was? I think I didn't really understand what mobility was. I was taught in school that mobility is just being flexible, right? So being able to touch your toes or whatever, like stuff like that. And I find stretching quite boring personally. I find literally just doing static stretches really boring. It wasn't until you explain actually what mobility is, like strength under tension, and in different range parts of the range of movement, that it kind of clicked in my head what we were doing. Like it's not just stretching; it was building strength at the furthest point of a movement, for example, and really being strong throughout and having that stability. So I think really truly understanding what we were doing and the actual goal really, like, it hammered home, I guess, the benefit. And I think the aha moment in terms of me seeing it like come into fruition, I think the big one was when we were working my lower back, because it was a chronic problem I'd had for so long. And I think, it was within like a week or two or something like that of doing those exercises religiously. I woke up the next morning and I didn't have any back pain. I was stood straight as a board. I usually have like the classic anterior pelvic tilt, guts out a little bit, bums back,
Mm.
big curve on your spine. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, Island, I'm straight down. I don't have any back pain. I was I play football every day on every Saturday, and I remember finishing a match, and it was a hard game, and I wasn't in pain. I didn't have any knee pain. I had no foot pain. I had no hip pain. My back didn't hurt, and I was really shocked. And I think that was the moment for me. I was like, this has lots of value.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that moment as well. You
I think I texted
like
you.
yeah, yeah, you texted me as well. Like you had in the first couple of weeks a couple of moments text where I felt like, whoa, he's really on it. And also like it's not normal that a person who's been in chronic pain with lower back pain and all other issues as well, that it can have an effect in such a short time. But sometimes it has, because I think in your case it's also maybe because your structure was so used to being or had to be adapted towards powerlifting and being more or working more into these linear patterns, and then also sitting work, that it just also might snapped in a way where it got some new adaptations, it got some new fluidity towards the system that just also just greatly reduced the overarching tensions that you felt, and also in terms of your standing abilities, posture abilities, which was really awesome to see. And especially yeah, also because afterwards you kept on putting in the work, because you can have a spike of a beautiful moment, but if you don't put in the work for a consistent period of time, you might not see those structural changes that you want. So it was very, I remember the second session you sent me, like, I don't know what this is, but I got so much energy, and how
Yeah,
what the fuck is going on? Like, I was like, this guy, like, it was a magical combination I felt, and that was really for me also a beautiful, yeah, sight to behold, because that's eventually what I also hope that people experience as well.
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember the first ones actually. Now you sort of jogged my memory, and I remember it was the spine one, like the what's it called, like the sagittal plane
yeah,
movement.
the sagittal wave system.
Yeah, that was amazing because that, like, yeah, and certainly when I was sat down all day and like getting up and just having something to do to stretch out, because it's really hard to know how to stretch your back when you've been sat down all
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Having like an exercise I could just do in like 5 minutes and very quickly ease my back off. That was wicked. I
Yeah,
remember
that
that,
was
and you're right.
beautiful.
You get
Yeah,
loads of energy from it, especially if you do it first thing in the morning. Like it just wakes you up. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really powerful, and especially I think in your case, because with the spinal work, there is a picture. If you look it up, from the homunculus man, and you see it's a puppet with big hands, big feet, and a big head, but then the rest of the body is very small. And that's because you have a sort of an internal map of where your body is in space, and also how sensitive it is. And I think the wave system really highlighted, like, you can really expand on that map also, especially on the areas that feel restricted or feel underutilized, like the back. And the wave system is really working vertebrae by vertebrae, and over time it becomes more sensitive, you become more aware. More awareness leads to more control in a longer period of time. So it was really interesting to see how much that had an effect on you as well. And you mentioned also that you felt some differences with rugby. And before you said something about like, I felt something different in my performance as well. Can you explain a bit how mobility also influenced your performance, maybe with rugby or other
Football. Yeah.
activities?
Yeah, with the football. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
sorry.
like for me, I'm like I play indoor football, I play five-a-side. So it's very there's a lot of sprinting, there's a lot of being able to turn quickly. I tend to play midfield, so I'm on the ball a lot and
Mm,
having to go around people, having to, literally like stop and turn 90 degrees very quickly to get around. Like it puts a lot of, I think, stress and pressure through your joints. And the mobility stuff for me, the difference it made is rather than, needing that extra like split second to be able to turn, like I was just faster. I
mm,
had more spring in my step. I was able to, just when my brain wanted to do something, my body did it faster. And because there was this natural connection, I think, between, what my, like the end of my limbs and my brain. And I think, that basically came from what we were doing. It was I guess, the confidence to be able to do what I wanted to do and still think that I could do it, even as I am, not old, but getting older compared to some of the guys I play with, and just being able to keep up, I guess. That
mm.
was the big thing for me.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting how the body and the nervous system allows just a bit more. if
Mm.
it feels safe in those end ranges, and yeah, I'm very happy. Like I think you're now one of the biggest players in the UK, right? From in that.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm world famous. What can I say?
Awesome, man. So, if you look now, we had discussed a bit about our journey together, especially your journey and all of the beautiful challenges that turned into sort of the your biggest assets right now. How does your body now after the program feel right now? Are there things that still changed? Are there things that you still do? Can you elaborate a bit more on how your current situation?
Yeah, I think the thing that I do the most now is I'm much more in tune with my body. So, whilst maybe I don't do exercises almost every day, I'm guilty of that. But what I do is, I'm in tune with how I'm feeling. If I spend a lot of time at my desk for a week because I'm, delivering a project or something like that, or building a new offer, then my back hurts. Then I'll go, right, okay, I need to put more focus now on opening up my hips, sorting out my lower back, and I'll sort of go and do that. So I guess I have the knowledge now to approach different problems in my body and know how to fix them.
Mm,
And it's never going to be a one. I can never just it'll never be perfect. But I guess being able to kind of just go right. Okay, that's tweaked a little bit. Let me do this, just kind of ease that off, and then maybe the next week it's my shoulders are a bit tight. I know what to do with that. That's the key. It's just being able to stay on top of it and which I guess always have an answer and not be kind of clueless and just let it get worse and worse. Like I can keep on top of problems and keep them small rather than letting them like fester and get bigger. That's really the best kind of thing that I do now, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, that's really amazing. It's often very hard to explain. Also in my messaging online, like your relationship with your body improves. Yeah,
Mm,
okay, but
massively.
yeah, it does. Like how you're explaining it right now. But for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, okay, but what are you talking about?
Yeah. I
Right? So
understand why my body hurts. I understand
yeah,
what's causing the pain, and then I know how to fix it. And that's the
yes.
key. Like, I went from not knowing why I was in pain, like on my back hurts, but why? Like, why does my back hurt? I thought it was because my lower back was tight. Well, no, it wasn't at all. It's because my hip flexors were tight. It's because my glutes were weak. And it was because my hips were incredibly tight and had no mobility. So,
Mm,
fix the problems that I didn't even know were the problems, and the symptom is gone. So that's the thing. It's just understanding why and then knowing how.
yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's beautiful to hear. I think that I hope if people take something home from all of the things at least that I put out and you're underlying it with a big marker, it's just the idea that just getting a better understanding of range of motions, of the degrees of freedom that every joint has, how it influences the total structure. In if you improve certain elements, that it just has a very great effect on how you operate as a mover. And the funny thing is, the more you feel you're functioning better, it also migrates and has a ripple effect to other elements of your life as well. And that's maybe my final question to you. Did you experience some things habitually or more from a well-being perspective during the program? And also the follow-up question is, are there still things that just are naturally changed because of it afterwards?
Yeah, I think I'm better at sticking to habits. I think that definitely helps. I think having being more connected with your body, it helps in more than just one way. Right? Like it's more connected to your body, more connected to your mind. I guess I'm more mindful of what's going on. I'm just a little bit more internalized and thinking like, why am I thinking a certain way? Why am I feeling a certain way? Why does this hurt? What does that hurt? Whatever. Like it just makes me be a lot more aware of myself. And I think that has ripple effects in other parts of my life. Things like my business, for example, being able to just be more aware of the effects of little inputs and how that can affect sort of, down the line, a much bigger output. And it's the same system effectively. It's the same as the body. It's just understanding the mechanism. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely had some sort of, I guess, knockover effects to other parts of life for sure.
nice, awesome. That's very beautiful to hear, man. Yeah, and I think in your case we just had so much we really had a great time working together. You were a champ in following up instructions, but also giving me feedback on things that could help you improve. So yeah, as somebody as my first client, I couldn't be more happy to have helped somebody. And also because just we had a lot of similarity on the, or at least we were navigating the same realm of the business side as well. So
Yeah,
just
100%.
yeah, it was a treat from my end, and I'm super happy
Likewise.
that you are now at the place where you are. And of course, if you ever want to step in again and work on some things that you want to work on, because I think you're gonna be a hybrid athlete, I'm very confident in that. Then we'll do it. Um,
100%, man.
are there any final things that you would like to share before I close off today's beautiful conversation?
Yeah, I guess I'm a very cynical person by nature. I look at things on the internet. Maybe it's because I'm a marketer. I look at things on the internet and I always go, like, yeah, but whatever. Like, is that really true? The one thing I can say about working with you is everything you promised, you delivered on. I regret absolutely nothing about working with you. It's been phenomenal. What I've got from it was incredible value. And yeah, I think message for anyone watching this, if anyone watches this, then don't hesitate to work with Tim. Like, you know, I got a lot from it and will continue to get stuff from it long, long time in the future. So yeah, well worth the money. Well worth the
Thanks,
money,
man.
dude.
Thanks. Appreciate it a ton. And again, likewise, I'm very happy that you and I got friends, and also I could you help you in the way we did. And
For sure.
again, thanks for the beautiful, kind words. So then I will close off this beautiful conversation. If you're somebody who wants help in becoming a pain-free mover without limitations holding you back, then contact me in the description below, and then we'll see how I can help you out. So thanks for today's call, Charlie, and yeah, we'll speak very soon, maybe in England or in Holland.
Oh yeah, man. Talk soon.
Okay, talk soon. Ciao.